Ruggish bunch. Welcome to Frolic Harder, and welcome to For the Haters. Check your bitch ass. This is Matt.
And I'm Brennan.
Bruh.
I introduce you because I usually have a funny name for you.
Okay, do it again.
Oh.
We'll cut out the first one. Re-intro.
No.
Do it.
No.
Go.
I'm just hopping on with your fun. This is the local town blacksmith and my co-host, Brennan.
There we go.
You really, I've been nailing these intros and you just hopped in there like a motherfucker.
I wanted to hijack your stuff.
You were
just like Doc and Marty Brown hijacked a train in Back to the Future 3, which is what we're talking about today. Boom. See, it all came full circle. I meant to hijack your intro.
Wow.
Boom.
Inception. You are
playing the
big
part.
brain shit right now.
That was all planned. I was gonna hijack.
I've noticed.
And then you got butthurt, so I was like, I felt bad.
This pregame stuff we've been doing for these last two episodes,
It works.
it is.
I'm telling you, man, you get to that perfect spot and everything just, you coast.
I hope everyone makes it to these episodes because now we're really hitting the stride.
You got to weed through the first couple, and those are good too, but these are better.
These are
because we're better.
We're better people.
That's right. We've become better people. But anyway, so like we were talking, kind of hijacked this thing like Doc and Marty on the train. We're going to talk about the redheaded stepchild of all trilogies, Back to the Future 3. This movie just does not get the respect it deserves as a sci-fi steampunk Western.
I don't get why this movie is so hated.
I don't either.
Because I'm going to be completely honest. Growing up, this was my favorite of the three.
Yeah?
Yeah, until I did a rewatch at I don't know, probably end of high school, kind of during childhood. This was my favorite of the three.
That's fair. It's I think one of the people can sit here and say, all these Clint Eastwood movies are the best Westerns ever. I think this is a top 5 Western movie. It is so good. I was of the mindset growing up when all these movies came out. This movie came out in 1990. I felt like Back to the Future 1 was great. As a kid, I liked Back to the Future 2. It was just fun. Back to the Future 3, though, came out, and I didn't really like it initially. And then, after seeing it a few times, I'm like, yeah, this is good. I like this. It's a different spin on everything. So, essentially, Back to the Future 3, you could say if you agree with this, but it really felt like Emmett Brown's movie. It was Doc Brown's movie with Marty McFly as the conduit to push the story forward.
I never really thought of it that way, but you're completely right.
Yeah,
it's a Doc Brown centric story.
Yeah, Marty went back because at the end of part 2, Doc gets hit by the lightning, and boom, he's back in 1855.
And which is it, the first or second movie when he's talking to Doc and he's like, I'd want to go back to the Old West if I could.
That was I think the first movie that Doc Brown was saying. Yeah, he's like, I always wanted to see the Old West. Yeah,
so they're really setting this. This has been set up since the beginning.
Yeah, it really was, and you'll find out that it wasn't Doc Brown that set up the Western.
Oh,
so this movie had a very consistent cast through all 3 parts of the trilogy, minus Marty's girlfriend. They switched actresses between 1 and 2. Jennifer got switched out. So in Back to the Future 3, reprising their roles, it was Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly and Seamus McFly. Let's not forget that. He played his was it great grandfather, I believe.
Yeah.
I think it was his great grandfather
or something. Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd coming back as Doc Brown, and Mary Steenburgen as Clara Clayton. Thomas F. Wilson coming back as Biff Tannen / Buford Mad Dog Tannen, which he hated being called. He hated it.
He hated Mad Dog.
It's a great Western name, just Mad Dog. Love it. Leah Thompson came back as Lorraine McFly and Maggie McFly. So she came back as Marty's great grandmother as well. And James Tolkien came back as Marshall James Strickland. So the guy that
Love
was
that
the
guy.
marshal was the principal in the other two movies.
That guy should have been in more movies. Like
He was so good. I love
so
Strickland. I'm a slacker. Remember me? Like in like part 2, he's
Yeah.
got the shotgun out in front because the world's all post-apocalyptic because Biff went full Jeff Bezos on the world and took everything over.
Yeah, he did.
And then Matt Clark coming in as Chester the bartender. So that was one of the top cameos in the movie.
I like that guy.
He was so good.
Bartender was so good.
I loved when in the movie when Doc Brown he's drinking his sorrows away because he had to tell Clara, like he told her, I'm from the future, and she's like, if you wanted to lie to me, you should have just left. Like she thinks he's lying. He's actually telling her the truth that he's from the future. And they kind of break up because he knows he can't take Clara to the future, which he does in the end anyway, on a train that is a time traveling train. But that's a plot hole that we're not going to talk about. we don't need to cross that off.
Don't worry about it.
Not only that, but you know what? I am going to talk about this right now because it's making me mad. Through the whole trilogy, Doc Brown, it's like he realizes that the time machine is a huge mistake. He keeps saying, like, we need to destroy the time machine. We just got to take it out. Nothing good comes from this. So what does he do? Marty gets back at the end. The train hits the DeLorean. It explodes into a million pieces. Time machine's done. And Doc Brown comes rolling right up on those train tracks with another one. So Doc Brown learned nothing. I think it would have been a better fitting ending if Doc Brown had left him another piece of mail, like another letter, like he did at the end of 2, just to say that he, loved their time together. And then another person from like USPS shows up and it's like, are you Marty? Boom, done.
That would have been cool. But I must object. If that did not happen, then I don't think we would have gotten the animated series, which I think was centered around the train, which also provided me with, I believe, a McDonald's Happy Meal toy of the time traveling train.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So
that's true. Okay. Take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
The plot hole is okay as long as I get a McDonald's toy out of it.
As Thanos said, all things must be balanced.
Fair. It's a good point. So this movie was really kind of unprecedented for the time. It was released back in May. It was May 25th of 1990, and they filmed parts 2 and 3 back to back. So as soon as they finished Back to the Future 2, they immediately started with 3. It was like a couple weeks later. The screenplay was again done by Bob Gale, who wrote the first 2 movies, directed by Robert Zemeckis, who also did Castaway. That was another one of his movies.
Polar Express.
That's
and
right.
Beowulf.
He did Beowulf? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just watched some weird YouTube video. You know me and my YouTube.
Yeah.
If
it's not ASMR, it's Robert Zemeckis.
It was this weird. I guess Zemeckis got into this weird, what's it called? The something Valley, Uncanny Valley.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he thought CGI was super cool because like he could do whatever. He didn't have to worry about actors like being there or not. It was after Castaway.
Oh yeah.
They had to wait the however many months for Tom Hanks to either gain or lose weight for the role.
Yeah, because he went all skinny in Castaway.
Yeah, so he didn't like the waiting part, and it just like held up his process. So he's like, well, if we can do these weird CGI,
I'll do it myself.
Yeah, we do the CGI people. I don't have to wait for any of that. We just need the voices.
So, fun fact: I have been to Robert Zemeckis' house. True story.
What'd you do there?
My dad.
Did you have cookies?
My dad built an extension onto his house because my dad owns a construction company. So
yeah, he does.
He actually built. It was I think it was a pool house for him. And one day, my dad had to drop some stuff off at his house for the construction crew to work on. And he hits me up and he's like, Brennan, you want to go to Robert Zemeckis' house? I'm like, I'm on my way. Didn't even think about it. So he lives up in Santa Barbara, right by the Santa Barbara Mission. And his house was split into like multiple buildings that had bridges connecting each part of the building together.
That's badass.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. It wasn't really deep, but it was a long house that took up a lot of the street. So it just went on forever. But really cool house. The budget for Back to the Future 3 was incredibly small in today's movie standards. You want to take a shot at what their movie budget was?
$13 million.
little higher than that, but you're not completely crazy.
I love when we just throw numbers out.
Yeah, they had a $40 million budget,
Hey,
which you
producer
can't
John,
make.
let us
wait.
know. Let us know. Oh yeah, producer John's here, by the way. Again,
Yeah, hi.
let us know what 40 million in 2022 currency equates to.
Was that like 6 zeros?
I'm already ahead of you, man.
Oh, well,
I don't have.
something to do anyway.
I do have the inflation for what they made on the movie.
Okay,
I'm ahead of you here.
You know how long it'd take me to math that?
So
I don't want you to math that. There's websites that do it for you. I'm just asking you to do that part.
So here we go.
That's how many zeros are in a million, bro.
That's fine.
We don't need. Don't worry about numbers. We're good. We're good. So budget of 40 million. They made $246 million off of that $40 million investment, which is incredible. So in today's numbers, I already did this work. That $246 million that they made is inflated for adjustment in 2022, would be the equivalent of a $529 million box office hit.
Nice.
So that is over a $500 million off of Back to the Future 3. So
that Back to the Future 3.
Hell yeah. So that puts in perspective like how big this movie was. It was the epic conclusion of this trilogy that everybody loved. They were filmed in between two states. It was California and Arizona. A lot of the California stuff was done in Southern and Northern California. I'm going to touch on that. So basically, the Western theme from Back to the Future 3, it came with the production of the film. During the filming of the original two movies, Robert Zemeckis asked Michael J. Fox what he would like to see or where he would like to go. And it was actually Michael J. Fox that said, I want to visit the Old West. So that's when you were talking about Doc Brown, that was actually inspired by Michael J. Fox telling Zemeckis, this is where I'd want to see. So he wrote that in as Doc Brown's line in the movie.
Can you use that? The possibilities could have been endless here then for part 3.
Could have been.
Like we could have, what if he wanted to touch on his Canadian roots? And he was like, fur trapping in Quebec.
Yeah, fur trapping.
Was what I would have loved to have been.
Catch a wild
moose. I would love
moose.
to have been a fur trapper.
Would love to catch a moose, yeah. So basically, Michael J. Fox was like enamored with the idea of seeing cowboys. That's what he wanted to see. And that's why they took that third movie in that direction. They originally did not plan on a third movie. It was planned to have one sequel, and it was supposed to end after 2. But after 1 concluded and it made a ton of money and gained just a ton of buzz, they're like, we got to turn it into a trilogy, right? We're going to do the Western on part 3. So Bob Gale, Robert Zemeckis, really, really intrigued by this idea. And they said, you know what? Rather than using an existing set for this, they built the entire 1885 Hill Valley from scratch. So that old Western town, they built that as a brand new set that wasn't like something that already existed, which you could probably tell by watching the movie. That actually, the town that they built, the Western town, was filmed in Oak Park, California by Thousand Oaks.
Really?
Yeah. So they did it in Oak Park.
I would have considered when you mentioned California, Arizona, that all the Western stuff was done in Arizona.
You'd think so. It was not. Yeah, that was Oak Park.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that which for the folks that are not from California, Oak Park is probably less than an hour outside of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So that tells you kind of where it is. So it's not in Arizona, not in Northern California. And they filmed the scene with the drive-in where he's trying to hit 88 to go back to 1885 with like the when he's got the goofy pink cowboy suit on because Doc Brown says this is in the Nikes, and Doc Brown says don't wear those shoes. So he promptly wears those shoes for the entire movie, which was great because he's already wearing a pink cowboy getup, and they make fun of him in the movie. I think they make reference to, oh, look, the circus is back in town or something like that. So some of the location shooting for the 1885 Hill Valley was also done in Jamestown, California. They used that for the railroad kind of area. So in this scene where they're hijacking the train and all that, that was in Northern California. That was built on, they basically built that set on a ranch called Red Hills Ranch near Sonora. Some of the train scenes were also filmed at the Railtown State Historic Park up there. That's also in Jamestown. So they like that kind of NorCal vibe, kind of looked like an old timey Western, because that's kind of how parts of Northern California still look. And as far as, building the set in Southern California, it was just a set. So they could kind of put that anywhere with trees and dirt. The shooting of the Back to the Future sequels, which were shot back to back throughout 1989. So they shot these in 89 and released in 90. That almost doesn't happen today. It's like you shoot it 3 years ago, and because of all the CGI and all of the post-production work they do, it's like years in the making for some of these. So basically that reunited a lot of the crew back together. The two films together were shot over a course of 11 months. So they did 2 movies in less than a year, which is pretty
quick.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. So they did the 2015 one. Also, remember, they did 2015, still shot in 1985, and then 1855. So they did 3 time eras within a year, which is pretty good. The only thing they had was 3 weeks. They had a 3-week hiatus to kind of recoup and catch their breath between the filming of 2 and 3. So it was that close, less than a month. And they're like, get back on that horse.
I gotta jump in really quick. The future was 2015, which was already 7 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
it makes you sick, doesn't it?
It does. Well, I didn't get my sports almanac. I didn't get Jaws
Gray's
3D.
almanac. You could buy one. Those exist. You could buy one.
My 3D Jaws?
No, the Gray's sports almanac. You can actually buy those.
I know. I don't want that though.
No, because it's all the old scores. It's
I
only
want
up to 2015.
It doesn't help me unless I can
we
go
want
back.
We want the one that goes to 2035. Now.
Unless I can go back to 1955. This helps me not.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. I just wanted to, realize.
That's okay. You're able to voice your.
We're not doing well. We're not doing well.
We don't have a time travel.
We're supposed to have self-drying jackets, hoverboards, power Nikes.
Those existed. Power Nikes.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so back on track here. We're talking about
Ding
Back
dong.
to the Future 3. There we go. Back in. We've reopened the door to the podcast. So during filming, the most tiresome part of editing was Robert Zemeckis editing Back to the Future Part 2 while filming 3. So Zemeckis basically did most of the work here over a 3-week period between, those 2 movies filming. While Zemeckis was shooting most of the train sequences in Sonora, Bob Gale was in LA supervising the final dub of Part 2. So they had one guy up in Northern California, one guy in LA. They were working on both movies at the same time. Zemeckis would wrap photography after a day of shooting, and he would get on a private plane, fly all the way to Burbank, where Bob Gale and the engineers would greet him on the dubbing stage with dinner. So they're like, got done with a real long day up in Northern California. They're like, we got you. Here's some food. Let's get going here. He'd oversee the reels completed that day and make changes as they were needed. So he'd shoot up in Northern California, come back, they'd feed him. He'd start looking over the reels for editing. This man was working hard, man.
Bob is the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. Afterwards, he would stay at the Sheraton at Universal Studios. He had a room there that was like just where he stayed to work on this stuff.
The Bob room.
The Bob room. And the next morning, Zemeckis would go back to Burbank Airport, get on another flight, and go back to Northern California. So this was his work day, flying up and down California, which is just huge. This is, the dedication this dude had to these movies is incredible.
And for those that don't know, the Burbank Airport is fucking delightful.
It is delightful.
It is now home to many Guy Fieri restaurants and.
Really? Burbank is?
Yeah, it has a burger stand there, and it is fucking phenomenal.
I like that.
Shout out, Guy. Triple D. What's up? On Fridays. Food Network. Let's go.
D, Guy's Grocery Games, whatever you're watching out there. So, although the schedule for most of the personnel involved was really tiring, the actors found the remote location for Part 3 relaxing compared to shooting its predecessor. So a lot of the actors really liked actually shooting up in Northern California. They thought, hey, this is peaceful. We're away from LA, away from all the hustle and bustle, bright lights. They treated it as almost a vacation while they were working, which was kind of cool. The role of Clara Caton was written specifically for Mary Steenburgen. So that role was for her. They didn't write it with anybody else in mind.
What else has she been in? Do you have any notes on that?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but we have a guy for that.
All right, guy. Mary, can you say
Mary Steenburgen? That's Steenburgen. Steenburgen.
Okay, continue on with the report while
here we go.
We'll get a little ding dong and he'll enter the chat.
I got it, but there's probably nothing you've ever heard of. Gulliver's Travels from 1996, but it's not the Jack Black one. So
okay, I was gonna say
but it's not the Jack Black one.
That's the only one I know.
She was in Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's
You don't say.
She was in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. There you go.
Hey Matt, did you know she was in Back to the Future?
There's other people and she was in Step Brothers and The Proposal.
I thought she was in Step Brothers. Okay, she's the mom.
She is.
No.
Yeah.
She's an elf.
An elf from what?
Elf. The Elf movie. A movie Elf.
It doesn't.
She's the mom in Elf.
Wait, no, she was the mom in Step Brothers. You just said, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe I never knew
look
that.
up the mom of IMDb.
We are going down a rabbit hole right now.
Perfect sense. I never knew she was the mom in Step Brothers. And that movie is the only movie where someone has my name ever.
Why did they?
Will Ferrell is.
I thought you were going to say that's the only movie where nutsack gets dropped on a
drum set. I'm putting my nuts all over your drums. I love that movie.
Please continue. We'll get it. Like we said, a ding dong when
when Mary got that script, she didn't want to do it. She was really reluctant to commit to the film, but her kids loved Back to the Future Part 1. And they said, you have to do this movie. So she did. That was also the first movie that Christopher Lloyd had an on-screen kiss. And he had been in a ton of stuff. It's Christopher Lloyd.
Really?
That's the first movie he has ever had an on-screen kiss on.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for you, Chris.
Yeah, so his first kiss was with Mary Steenburgen in Back to the Future Part 3.
She's still acting today, guys.
No.
Good for her.
What's the last title we got?
She's apparently in post-production on a thing called Book Club 2, the next chapter. Yeah, it sounds like made for TV.
I am writing that down as a topic.
It's a Hallmark movie.
Book Club 2
sounds about right. And then it looks like she was Mr. Mayor. Is I don't watch TV, so if this isn't on like Netflix, but Mr. Mayor in 22 as Adriana, so she's pretty frequent.
Look at that.
That is my
she's doing.
Sister-in-law's name is Adriana. That's all I have to. That's
good work, producer John. Good work.
Thanks, John.
No problem.
And a ding dong.
Here we go. So you remember the scene where they're all dancing at like the Hill Valley Festival, and they've got like Doc Brown was dancing with her and everything.
Marty flings the pie tin, and I think it's called frisbee.
It is. I will touch on that. So during that whole like hoedown, whatever you want to call it,
ZZ Top.
Don't you cut me off here, sir. But in that scene where she's dancing with Christopher Lloyd, Emmett Brown, Doc Brown.
Yes, sir.
She tore a ligament in her foot.
No way.
Yeah, she busted up her foot while dancing with Christopher Lloyd. So that and she powered through. She never stopped acting in the movie. She tore a ligament and just said, "Screw it, the show has to go on."
Beautiful. That's up there.
Dedication.
Michael Jordan's flu game. The 49ers guy, Ronnie Lott, when he gets his finger amputated.
Aaron Rodgers getting his knee wrecked by the Bears and coming back after halftime to lead the Mud Dogs through the Bourbon Bowl. Yeah, that whole thing.
And Mary, torn ligament.
Done. Goats. So the actual film had a couple of really big cameos that a lot of people don't know of. The saloon. You remember the saloon where
I do.
Marty first
the
saloon
goes
in there. And yeah,
wake
the
up
saloon.
Juice.
The wake up juice, all that. So there's kind of three guys that are like the three saloon hecklers that are just sitting at a table, and they're always the ones yapping either back at Marty or back at Doc Brown when he's trying to, tell him he's from the future and all that. So those three actors were Pat Bertram, Harry Carey Jr., and Dub Taylor. So they were three well-known Western actors that made cameos in the movie as the saloon guys, the hecklers. I don't know what you call them.
To clarify, Harry Carey Jr. is that Harry Carey?
That Harry Carey.
Fuck
Yes.
yeah.
So a lot of people did not know that was who he was. So really big cameos in the saloon. As you alluded to, the band that was playing at the party was in fact ZZ Top.
I love ZZ Top.
Do you know why it was ZZ Top?
Why was it ZZ Top?
So Michael J. Fox knew him, and he literally called them on the phone and said, "Hey, do you guys want to come down and like shoot this movie with us? We need a group to play some music." And they're like, "Yep, we're in."
I can't say I would have guessed that.
Yeah,
I didn't guess it, and I never would have.
It was Michael J. Fox. So yeah, he actually called them and was like, "Hey, we got this scene we need to shoot. It's like an old Western party." ZZ Top showed up, and they actually played like once they filmed that whole scene, they did a straight up like ZZ Top concert out in the mountains for the whole crew.
That's
so
fantastic.
they just started playing ZZ Top songs.
And there's really not a like visually better band than probably ZZ Top for that role.
The beards. It was so perfect. It was the beards. So back on track here. So shooting a film on the set of like an Old West was really appealing to the stuntmen in the area. They're all experienced horse riders. It's kind of a thing they had just in their back pocket, so it all lined up. They had every great stuntman in Hollywood wanting to get a part on this show, or not show, movie. Sorry. So Biff, Mad Dog Tannen, as we know. So he played Thomas Wilson, who played Mad Dog, chose to perform his own stunts and spent a lot of time learning how to ride a horse and how to lasso. So you know that scene where he lassos Marty? He actually did that. That was Thomas Wilson that did it. He literally learned how to lasso off of a horse.
Please tell me this guy owns like a ranch now and like this became like his thing.
I don't know what Thomas Wilson's up to. What's Biff up to these days? We got to figure that out.
Producer John, ding dong.
What's Thomas Wilson doing?
Thank you. We're really like putting you to work. We
are.
Yeah.
So while he's looking up what Thomas Wilson's doing, they actually had to stop filming on Back to the Future 3 towards the end because Michael J. Fox's father died and his son was born almost back to back. So they had to kind of pump the brakes there for a little bit. Don't know if you knew that part or not.
I did not.
Yeah. I mean, it was really sad that his dad died, had his son come into the world. So it was out with the old, in with the new.
Times it was the worst of times.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. So Alan Silvestri, through his longtime friendship and collaboration with Robert Zemeckis, returned to compose the score of Back to the Future Part 3. Rather than dictate how the music should sound, Zemeckis told him, do it as if you were an actor. Evoke emotion. Do that whole thing. So that's how he did the score of that. He basically put it in his mind that he is an actor and he wanted to write the music of how he was feeling in the scene versus here's what we want you to do. So he gave him a lot of like free reign how to, basically do the score. And he had some track record of doing really well with the first two movies. So there was some trust there. The photography of Part 3 was really like this guy named Dean Cundley. That was his dream job. It's what he always wanted to do. So
Back to the Future?
Back to the Future. Yeah. When he was, he's like, this is exactly what I want to do. It's like a sci-fi.
As a boy, I want to be Back to the Future Part 3.
No, he wanted to do it. Here we go. Thomas Wilson, what's he doing?
I love this.
Dude, he's like, he does all kinds of stuff. He's done Star Trek. He was like an extra or something in a video game. But yeah, no, currently, I guess he does it on a bunch of different voices on SpongeBob. So that's like his, like, like he's still from whatever Wikipedia says, man, from 2001 to present. He just does a bunch of different voices, mainly villains.
My kid just got into SpongeBob, or as he calls it, Bob and Patrick.
That's pretty accurate. And yeah, he was on Knight Rider back in the day. He played Chip. Wait.
He played the car.
Yeah, was he the voice of the car? What?
Was he?
Maybe. But yeah, and he was on NCIS, Wizard's Tale of Arcadia. Yeah, dude, all these dudes are still working.
I love
Crazy.
that. I love that.
All right,
Good to
ding
hear.
dong.
Ding
Bye.
dong.
Perfect. So when Zemeckis was talking to the director of photography, he told him basically, he gave him some base guidelines, said he wanted to really create a spectacular climax to the film. He coordinated the actors, a live 460 10-wheeler steam locomotive, pyrotechnics and special effects, and countless technicians all at once. As they had done with the previous two films in the trilogy, the visual effects in part 3 were managed by Industrial Light and Magic, as you probably have heard of that company before. The head of its animation department, Wes Takahashi, returned once again to animate the DeLorean's time scene sequences.
Wes.
So they had continuity there. Same guys. They literally brought back the same people for 1, 2, and 3, which was really good. It's not like they changed directors of photography and all that. That's why all 3 movies kind of felt the same, which was a really good move that you don't see, with a lot of movies these days in general. So, are you ready to get into some fun facts about Back to the Future 3?
Yay.
All right.
What fun facts?
Here's the first one. Despite the cliffhanger ending, there were originally no plans for a Back to the Future sequel. However, once the studio became dead set on making one, Zemeckis and Bob Gale agreed to come back and make it, conceived as a single sequel, a script called Paradox. That was what it was originally going to be called.
Ooh.
Contained elements that were eventually split into parts 2 and 3. Paradox remained the working title for the sequels, and parts of the script that were used in the novelization of the movies as well. So in the books, they basically took the screenplay and put those in the books. So pretty neat. An even earlier version of the prequel story, predating Paradox, saw Marty McFly traveling back to the 1960s, where he was arrested because he didn't have a draft card. Lorraine would have bailed him out, and as the result, she no longer would have had the money necessary to travel to San Francisco to meet George to celebrate their anniversary. This was all in the original script.
Okay.
As Doc says in that version of the script, this was supposed to be the night that Marty McFly's parents engage in biological reproductive mating behavior. Had the producers stuck with this version of the sequel and story, we most likely would never have seen the Old West.
This would have been fantastic.
Yes. So this was some interesting stuff here. Also, as most fans know, Back to the Future 2 and 3 were filmed back to back. Then it was basically an unprecedented move for the time for a major studio. Doc Brown wore a shirt through the majority of the second movie with illustrations of trains and cowboys and horses. So I go back and watch it. It's true, which I did before this. So it was really a really good foreshadowing moment when they were filming too.
Oh.
Yeah, his shirt's got all that Western stuff on it. It is, yeah.
You have the funnest of facts.
I know. It's good times, man. I love fun facts. So Back to the Future was allowed to film in Sonora, California, rent-free, under the condition that they agreed to leave all of those cool Old West buildings there in hopes that the sets would serve as an attraction for other Western-themed productions. Universal Studios said, sure, why not? That's fine. We don't need these. We're not going to take them with us. So they agreed. They only took the clock tower when they left. Everything else from that set remained. The county up there itself served as the site of Gary Cooper's For Whom the Bell Tolls, Gregory Peck's The Big Country, Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven.
Fuck yeah.
They also used that set on TV shows like The Lone Ranger, Rawhide, Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and Little House on the Prairie. So they all used that same Back to the Future 3 setup there.
I was really hoping you were going to say Walker, Texas Ranger.
That would have been great, right? It would have been so fitting. 6 years after the release of the Back to the Future 3 movie, the sets sadly burned down. They had a 7,000 acre fire up there that was started. Here you go. You ready for this? The fire was started by a lightning bolt. Believe it or not. Yeah, right? I mean, of all things in Back to the Future, just like the clock tower, the fire started with a lightning bolt. So everybody's like, this place is cursed. I'm out.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I know. There's also a great Clint Eastwood joke at the drive-in theater. at the very beginning of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Doc replies, "Who? when Marty was talking to him. But there's a subtle visual gag involving Eastwood as well. As Marty emerges from the bathroom in his cowboy getup, the two posters on the wall next to that bathroom when he's got the pink suit on were from B movies, then featured a really unknown actor named Clint Eastwood. So if you look at when he comes out first in that pink getup with his sneakers on and he's holding the boots, yeah, two really unknown Clint Eastwood movie posters are on the wall there at the drive-in. So take that.
The more you know.
Also, in Michael J. Fox's autobiography, he stated that he went unconscious during the stunt scene where he was put in the noose. That went horribly bad, and he actually was hung temporarily. So he actually blacked out and began choking. And yeah, they had to rescue him because he was literally passing out because they hung Michael J. Fox accidentally. So that whole scene, remember when Doc shows up with his like old school sniper rifle,
that
shoots the rope.
A Canadian hero?
Yep. Canadian sniper.
That would have started another world war.
Yep.
I'm convinced.
So when you're seeing him like struggling with the rope, that actually happened. It wasn't supposed to. So yeah, could have killed Michael J. Fox on the set of Back to the Future 3.
Fuck.
I know, right? Another cool fact here is as Marty and Doc talk to the conductor on the train for the first time when they're saying, hey, theoretically, how fast can this train go? Remember that part where they're trying to see if they can
get
this to 88 or not? You know,
it's the greatest movie of all time.
So they're talking to that conductor. What you might not have noticed is during that scene, they were unloading the clock for the clock tower off the train. So that's a little kind of behind the scenes little tidbit. Yeah. They were unloading the clock. You alluded to this earlier. In another one of the scenes, Marty throws a Frisbee's pie plate in Back to the Future Part 3, knocking a gun out of Mad Dog's hand, if you remember that. Gun. The Frisbee Pie Company was actually a real thing, like you said. Started in 1871. College students then started tossing around those pie tins, and the Frisbee was created. So that's brought Back to the Future into this and Frisbees. Who would have known?
Good stuff.
So that was really cool. The last little bit of information I have was Ronald Reagan. Do you remember when they were talking to how like Ronald Reagan, the actor Ronald Reagan? Yeah, when he's talking about like the mayor of Hill Valley. So he could have been that mayor. President Ronald Reagan at the time really, really enjoyed the Back to the Future movies. He was a big fan of the original and reportedly asked to have the projectionist, when he saw the movie, rewind the scene so he could watch it again. Because I don't know if he's just like, I want to hear my name called a second time.
He would.
Yeah, so he was a big fan. He also gave the movie a shout out in a 1986 State of the Union address. So leave it to actors that are presidents to do these kind of things. The producers actually offered him the role of mayor in Back to the Future Part 3 in the 1885 Hill Valley. So they wanted Ronald Reagan to come in and be, that would have been good. So they actually wanted to do that. But Ronald Reagan said, nah, I'm good. So that's basically it. But don't need to touch on all the plot points here. You've seen the movie. You love the movie. We gave you some cool behind the scenes stuff for this. You kind of know what happened, in between everything that you saw, how the movie was made, some fun facts. What do you think? What do you think, Matt?
Greatest movie of all time.
You think it's the greatest movie of all time?
Yeah. You don't think so? After all of this research?
I think that this movie is the Back to the Future trilogy is my favorite trilogy. I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. This was right up my alley here. Greatest movie of all time? I don't think so.
No, it's not. It's okay.
What do you think is the greatest movie of all time?
Oh, it's Amadeus.
Oh, that's right. You told me that once recently, actually. Well,
it was the bonus.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. People are going to know that throwback here. Producer John, what do you think is the best movie of all time?
Dazed and Confused.
That's a good call.
No, we didn't ask how you are. We asked what your favorite movie of all time was.
We didn't ask what your current state of existence was.
Honestly, this could be the best movie of all time. Although 2 is better than 3.
Yes.
I think
also
one is
that
the best
Biff was
one is my
Trump.
favorite.
Basically, it called Trump.
Yes. With the whole like Biff Tower was basically like a Trump Tower.
Everything. And then like taking over the world and all that.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been the dark timeline.
It's the dark. The 1985 where Biff gets rich off the almanac was definitely the dark timeline.
Yeah.
Of the trilogy.
But I have no idea because it's like cliched everything that it's subjective. So best stoner movie, Dazed and Confused. Best going back to the future movie, I guess going forward to the future and back in time at one point, probably Back to the Future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
It's solid. That's solid reasoning.
Well, what's yours, Brennan? Like,
if I have to pick what I honestly think my favorite movie of all time is, it's not necessarily the best. Are we talking about like my favorite movie or what I think is the best movie of all time?
Oh,
it's so hard. How do you choose Amadeus?
It's my favorite movie.
So if we're talking,
really though,
yeah,
like,
I think
it's
that
a
movie's
good
fantastic.
Movie.
My favorite movie, personally. So this is nothing to do with Back to the Future. I wish it did, but it's my favorite trilogy. My favorite movie of all time is The Boondock Saints.
It's a good movie.
That is my number one.
Yeah, that's definitely on like it in that genre of movie. That definitely would win.
Yeah, I like that. I've also really got on board with the John Wick movies. They're quickly moving high up on my list.
But they're kind of like their own genre, right?
Yeah, just one guy killing everybody.
There's not a lot of like that type of shooter movie. Yeah,
no.
I would say along the lines of Amadeus, probably Clockwork Orange would be my favorite within that like kind of musical genre.
Yeah, I don't think I have one in that genre.
That's more classical oriented, I guess, right? Because obviously Amadeus is like straight up like Mozart, so
yeah,
which is great. And
yeah.
I don't remember who the actor was, but he did do great.
Tom
I have to watch that. I feel like the last time I watched that was in high school.
I haven't seen that movie in decades.
I watched it in 2020, I believe.
That's pretty recent. That's recent enough when talking about movie watching lengths here.
Could that really be considered your favorite? I have movies I watch every year.
What's a movie you watch every year? What's a staple
Dazed and
for you?
Confused. I like to try to
really like Dazed and Confused, don't you?
Across the Universe. I'll get in at least.
Do you go back to that? I find that movie so boring after the beginning.
I like the music. I don't really care about the movie as much.
So you're more
Rocky
like
Horror. I guess
you can just get the soundtrack.
I watch Rocky Horror like all the time. So
that's a classic.
At least as much as I can. I watch the Harry Potter series a handful of times every year.
Yeah, my wife's a big Harry Potter fan.
I could see producer John pulling on a pair of fishnets once a year for.
I would be Riff Raff.
not going into
Riff Raff or Columbia. I'm not Frankfurter. No, thank you.
Is there a movie that if it's on, if you're scrolling through, if you're watching TV, if you're scrolling through Netflix, whatever, if you see this movie in the line like you're scrolling through, is there a specific movie that you stop on no matter what and watch? You're like, oh, it's on here, I gotta watch it.
Yeah, Brink. I'm so happy about Disney Plus. And I can watch Brink whenever the hell I want.
I have so it's funny.
Like all those Disney
that is
movies,
a great...
all those like genre of Disney movies from back in the day, like Disney Channel stuff. Oh, anytime I see it.
You're like a Johnny Tsunami, Halloween Town.
Yo, yes, dude, you got to watch Halloween Town every year. That's like that, and then hopefully they don't screw up the sequel to the witch movie,
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus,
the witch movie. No, it's funny you said Brink. I had a buddy of mine adamant about me watching it because I've never seen Brink.
You haven't seen Brink?
I have never seen Brink, but this is not the first time I've heard I need to see it.
No, you don't need to see it. You had to have watched it when you were young enough for it to have made some sort of shitty impression on you.
So if I watch it now, I'd be like, this is just a stupid movie.
Well, yeah, so like I liked skating, like rollerblading back, like I wasn't good at skateboarding. I was good on rollerblades. So it kind of spoke to me that, but then it's talking about like selling out and stuff. So, nice. You don't want to be like the sellout and, it spoke to me then, but now it's pretty stupid. So unless you have some nostalgia around it, it's probably a dumb movie.
That makes sense.
Rollerblading.
My wife probably hates watching it with me.
Selling out is cool now. So
selling out is cool. I know the new message is sell out and sell out fast.
That's it,
And
man.
what's the show where it wasn't? I didn't sell out. I sold up. It's the dad telling his son. Oh, I gotta remember. I'll remember next time.
I have no clue. Sell out.
Ding dong.
Yeah. Ding dong. So I think that that concludes the Back to the Future episode.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Okay. I mean,
unless you got something left.
Oh, it
Got
was SLC Punk. Yep.
SLC Punk. There you go.
It was towards the end when the dad's having a heart-to-heart with his son.
That'll do it.
Ding dong.
Love it.
Ding dong is the best.
It's the best.
I love it. I love it. That was Back to the Future 3, I guess. I guess that
Back to the Future 3, the podcast.
That was for the haters.
That one was for the
I don't know why this movie gets hate.
It does, though. It really does get hate. I've talked to so many people, and I'm very enthusiastic about the Back to the Future movies. Like I said, my favorite trilogy. And whenever I ask that question to a big group of people, I'm like, what's your favorite Back to the Future movie? They either say 1 or the idiots say 2. And everybody says 3 was terrible. And I'd like to go out there and disprove a lot of people that it was not a terrible movie. You should go out there, you should rewatch it, and you should see if you have an updated opinion on the movie after hearing this podcast. Maybe you haven't seen the movie in a while. Maybe it just left a bad taste in your mouth. When you go back and watch it, it might change your mind about what it was. Because for a long time, like I said, I thought Back to the Future 3 wasn't a good movie. And then I rewatched it. I rewatched it again, and I just kept loving it a little bit more every single time. And it turned out to be, one of the best movies of the 90s, even though it was just barely crept in 1990. I really, really love that trilogy. I like all 3 movies. Great trilogy.
That was a perfect ending. I'm gonna level with you right now. I can't think of anything clever to tie in with our general sign out.
Yes, you can. You got to dig deep.
This is tough. So,
ding dong. 2 is better. Ding dong.
I'm in. I'm out.
That's fantastic.
So good. Everybody's gonna learn to love this.
The ding dong is the best.
I love it.
Well, go out there. You watch 1, you watch 2. We give you facts on 3. Watch 3. It'll make you a better person.
It will.
You'll be wiser. You'll be more open to life experiences. You'll stand on your toilet to hang a picture or a clock. You'll fall. You'll hit your head. You'll get a vision of the flux capacitor. When you get that vision of the flux capacitor, you will then create a time machine out of a DeLorean. You will go into the future. You will go get that secret knee surgery that all the NBA players get in Germany. And when you get that futuristic German knee surgery in the future, that will give you the ability to run faster, jump higher, and frolic harder.
Okay, bye.